Welcome back to the morning show right here on eTV. It's 15 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Tuesday morning, the 11th of June. It's so good to be with you. Right now, we're diving into the very exciting world of podcasting. This is a medium that's rapidly growing, and you've probably heard of one, you've probably heard people talking about it, or maybe you even have one. And it's changing the way that we share story. Joining us right now is Nicholas Regisford, the director of the SA Podcast and Music Festival. And he's here to tell us more about this booming industry and, of course, the upcoming festival that's happening this coming weekend. Nicholas, so now I'm calling you by your surname just because we're getting familiar like that. Nicholas, how you doing, man?
I'm great, man. How much is that smile cost?
A whole lot of money. A whole lot of money. I can't even, it can't fit on a check, bro.
If I could buy that?
No, it's not on sale.
It's not available.
It's not available. There is no value that you can put on this.
This
is made pure specifically for this moment.
Wow.
But Nicholas, thank you so much for the compliment. But I think let's talk about podcasting. This is something that has really skyrocketed in the last couple of years, and I think it's something that's so beautiful to see how it's reaching ends of the world and it's reaching so many different people. It's changed the way we tell stories. But then why the festival? Why create a SA Podcast and Music Festival for something that's booming like that?
Because we've got to have a meeting. We've got to have a meeting of note. We've got to bring different people, players, into a place so we can have conversations, so that we can grow, so that we can develop, so that we can increase the potential and the power that is in podcasting. Those are 3 Ps. Podcasting is full of potential and it's got power, and we've seen it. MacG is an example. 1 million subscribers. That's a big media force. You need to watch out and be careful, because what's happening is people are coming out, taking audiences and putting them together and putting them into lanes. And as you do that in silos, our objective is to come together and say, okay, let's look for the best of the best. Let's talk about best practices. Let's help those who want to start. Let's give people like yourself who are thinking about podcasting motivation and inspiration to actually do it and to actually start sharing stories. Why? Because the more you talk and the more you articulate authentically from a place in your heart, not something that you're, that's going to be good for a podcast, but something that you're passionate about, you're going to do it well.
I mean, over the last couple of years, we've seen this. I, for one, have found myself subscribing to more and more podcasts on my phone that I always listen to. How has the phenomenon of podcasts grown in South Africa? Because I think a lot of us, when you think podcast, immediately we think of Podcast and Chill with MacG. But I think there's a lot of others that have really, not just sprouted, but really blossomed beautifully that we've seen over the last couple of years in South Africa. Maybe you can give us more light in terms of what that looks like.
It's important to give him his flowers because he's paving the way. It's an anomaly, right? But what's happening on the ground is that conversations are becoming common, and there's a consistency and a curiosity that is being developed amongst communities to be able to share what is on my heart, to have conversations. So people are talking. Ursula Mariani, one of our speakers at the event who hosts the Conversation Capital, says, you know what, I don't know if this uncensored thing is good, but actually I'll scratch it as long as people are talking, because there's power in conversations. And if you take African tradition back, conversations have always been central to it. Storytelling have always been central to African culture. So this is the evolution of culture, now wrapped up in an on-demand format. View it when you want and choose what you want to watch when you want, unlike this show.
Where it's limited to a specific time and you only see it when it happens live or nothing. Nicholas, there's someone who's probably listening to this conversation thinking, I'm thinking of starting a podcast. I've got lots of things to talk about. I, for one, am considering starting a podcast myself. But it's kind of like, where do I start? Do I need the equipment? How do I format it? When is it too long? When is it too short? Do I need to have a panel of people? Because obviously we always draw from what we've seen. What do you have as advice to someone who's saying, man, I'm actually interested in starting a podcast?
Get your phone and start a conversation with your friend and put it on the internet. Forget the set, forget the cameras, forget the cast, forget the crew. Why? Because that's imposter syndrome. You're trying to be like other people. Start the technique of talking and having conversations. You don't need much. You've got a phone and it records audio. You can have a conversation, record it, load it. That's your first podcast. It might not be good, but you've started. You've pushed the boat out. You've started the conversation. You've started the story. That's my advice. Don't overwhelm yourself with lights and cameras and couches and I want to look like this. No. Do what is authentic to you. If I was you, I would start a podcast on Smile.
Nicholas is pushing me and making me feel uncomfortable in my own house. Making me feel like, why are you not starting your podcast right now? But Nicholas, I think that's the power of the SA Podcast and Music Festival that's coming up this coming weekend. Tell us a little bit more about what people can expect expect attendees, some of the speakers that will be there this coming week?
Thank you very much. It's a 2-day event brought to you by the Department of Arts and Culture, Sports Arts and Culture. They're our sponsor. Got to big them up. We've got to big up Metro FM, SABC 2000, 5FM, and Arena Holdings, who have come to the table to support us as media partners.
Yeah.
Now, that's encouraging. It's a 2-day program. 11 a.m. On the 14th and 15th of June, Emperor's Palace at Red Roman Shed. Red Roman Shed is not that conference room with carpets and lined up chairs. We're going into a boiler room, and we're going to unpack conversations with the best in the game. We've got an opening plenary from two doctors, Tebe Ikhalafe. We've got Gareth Cliff in the building. We've got a panel on the power of podcasting, meaning the business of podcasting. How do you make money? How do you get started?
Because I think for a lot of people, it's a question of, I want to step into podcasting, but also at the same time, I'm just like, I'm not trying to just spend time. I'm trying to make some money off of podcasting. But unfortunately, Nicholas, I've ran out of time. Quickly, in 5 seconds, for people who want to get more details, where can they go?
Podcastandmusicfest.co.za.
The man has said it. Therefore, you can do yourself a favor and head on over to that website, get yourself the details for the SA Podcast and Music Festival that's coming up just this coming weekend. Lots more coming up on The Morning Show. Stick around.